Hi, everyone. Good morning and welcome to our webinar. I'll just wait for a couple more folks to join in before we start. And today's webinar is on unlocking opportunities, student trends and insights from the Middle East and Pakistan. My name is Dharma Naik. I am the head of client success for the USA, based out in the East Coast in Maryland. And joining me today, we have Rohan Rego, who is the Associate Director for Destination Management with IDP Middle East MENA region, and also Amith Kumar, who is our Regional Senior Destination Manager for IDP Middle East and MENA region. So the flow of today will be, I will give you a brief on IDP and kind of a larger context of the three countries in focus. And then I will hand it over to Rohan for a larger overview of the region that they oversee. And then Amith will go into each country in more detail. And there were questions that some of you sent in advance, which we will answer throughout the presentation. And anything that doesn't get answered during that time, we will take those questions in the Q&A section at the end. So there is that Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. So throughout the webinar, you are welcome to type in any questions there, and we will address them at the end. So I hope that works for everyone. And again, welcome and thank you for taking the time to be here. This webinar is being recorded and we will share the slides with all of you once this is over, so you can keep it for reference. Thank you, Carolyn. Right. So some of you may have noticed that IDP has gone through a brand refresh very recently. And so in the US also now we are referred to as IDP Education. We are one big same branded family. Just a quick overview, what this map shows you is our presence globally. So for example, for student placement, and many of you would have visited our offices in our network countries, we have more than 200 offices from 35 source countries, and there are 6 destination countries, including the US, to which we work with partners such as yourselves to send students. So this is just a quick overview, and again, this will be available to you later on, so you can refer to it. Thank you, Carolyn. So I wanted to start off with a larger context. As many of you would know, Open Doors recently released its new data just a couple of weeks ago. And what we just wanted to show you this larger context before we get into the details, to show you what is the opportunity in each of these countries. So when we look at Saudi Arabia, you can see that the total opportunity is quite large for the country. Undergraduate students being a little over 6,500, graduate around 5,800. And so, you know, a lot of opportunity there. Even though there has been a decline from the previous year, there's still a huge market opportunity available in Saudi Arabia. Thank you, Carolyn. Now, going to Pakistan. So Pakistan is the most promising in the sense that it is one of the top senders of international students with an 8% increase over the previous year. And Amith will tell you more about our own IDP growth in Pakistan and which cities and countries and what that looks like. And you will see that at both the undergraduate and graduate level, so combined almost more than 8,000 students last year, there has been a rise of 1.8% in undergraduate and 8.8% in graduate. So very promising, you know, kind of opportunity in Pakistan. Next slide, please. And then finally, but not the least, United Arab Emirates. So according to Open Doors, undergraduate students were around 1,100 and graduate at 212, which saw a decline. But Amith will explain a little bit more about the nuances around, are these Emiratis, are they expats who are in the country, how this data is calculated, because the opportunity, we believe, is much larger than what is shown in this data in the United Arab Emirates. And Rohan and Amith are both based out of Dubai. And so they really have a good hold on the market there. So given that, I will hand it over to Rohan. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Dharma, and Welcome, everyone. My name is Rohan Rego, and I'm the Associate Director for IDP Middle East and Africa, based in Dubai, working closely with Amith and the rest of the team. Before I, introduce the IDP Middle East region, I would like to say, a big thank you for everyone joining in today. In the IDP Middle East, we've got a very expansive geographical footprints. We've spread across 14 countries and 37 offices. If you notice, we've got a very fast and expanding presence in sub-Sahara Africa. This was an account of the recent acquisition and merger with a company called Intake. We have completed the transition, and now we've got 8 offices in Nigeria, we've got 3 offices in Ghana, and we've got 1 office in Kenya. So we really have a strong footprint, not just in the region, but also in sub-Sahara Africa, which really showcases our strong movement. Now, the other important market that we are really expanding very fast is Pakistan. So Pakistan's story started in 2019. We launched with 3 offices, and today we are sitting at 9 offices. And that is really, intentional for us to grow in high promising markets, and Pakistan is another one. Where for the rest of the region, UAE remains to be one of the most fundamental countries, and we've got 2 offices. So typically across the region, like Saudi Arabia, we've got 3. These are the main countries. We also have other countries that we cater, but we cater through a model called as franchisee or licensing model. So we partner with a local partner who delivers IELTS as well as student placement offices, and they represent IDP destinations as well. Now, looking at the strategy piece from IDP's point of view, our purpose in IDP is to transform lives through international education. And one of the 3 key pillars is engaging more customers in more places. And that's why you see that we've expanded robustly. But underpinning this strategy is to make sure that our people, our counselors, deliver a superior experience to our test takers as well as students. And we do use a lot of technology, data, to inform insights. We have got strong relationship in country, and so we do a lot of activities at schools, with institutions, with sponsorship bodies. So that really gives us a very head strong presence in the market. FY24, which is an IDP terms July to June calendar year, was more about caving the opportunity, and we are now looking at extracting the value of the presence that we have across the region. So we also invest a lot in our people. So we've got 50 plus counselors who are dedicated in US and Canada. Moving to the regional leadership team, it's headed by Imad Chawi. He's a regional director for EU, MEA, CIS countries. He heads our region. He's a part of the global leadership team as well. I'm one of the team members who represent the leadership team in the region. I'm supported by my other colleagues. We've got country directors, country managers across the region. And some of you who are visiting our offices or countries would definitely be in a position to meet our country leaders. So we have Ahmed Al Saeed, who's the who's the country director for Saudi Arabia. He has recently moved from Dubai and he's based in Riyadh. We've got Buki, who's ex-Intake and now sits in the Nigeria office. She's a country director. Then we've got Yuan, who's the Operation Excellence. He's also based in Dubai. Rashi Bhattacharya, who's the area director, who looks after UAE, Turkey, Kazakhstan, and Qatar. And we've got Humayun bin Akram. He's a country director for Pakistan. He's based out of the Lahore office. Then we've got country managers in Ghana. So that's Murray Stella. And we've got Martins, who's a country manager of Nigeria, based in Lagos. Then we also have associate directors in Dubai office, Sabina. Some of you would have met Sabina if you are in Dubai. Then we've got Yasir, who looks after Oman. And we recently hired a country manager for Turkey to start early next year. So that position is already filled in. Then we've got a vacant position right now in Egypt. So that's something that we are focusing on to make sure. So we've got a very strong presence of leadership team, and we've spread across the region. Moving on to the next slide. Now, this is the regional destination management team. I head the destination management team, but I've got a strong presence of team members who are based with me. So Alfin looks after Australia and New Zealand. Amith, who's on the call and will be taking through some of the slides today. He's a senior regional destination manager for US and Canada. Then we've got the other team members. We also have a country destination management team in those countries. So we've got Hussein, who's the country destination manager for UK. We've got Rizwan, who's a country destination manager for UK in Pakistan, and Roshani for as a country destination manager for Pakistan, for Australia, and New Zealand. We've recently added Tufan, who's the country destination manager for Canada and the US, based in Lagos office. So if you are in Nigeria, definitely she'll be the point of contact from that perspective. We also have an appetite to add a couple of destination managers in Pakistan, specifically on the US and Canada, and in Ghana in the future. So we are definitely very high, excited over those two openings, and we will be looking at filling those positions in the short-term future. So that's something we're really looking forward to as well. Now, moving to the interesting part, and I think where we look at how big is the opportunity size for our region. So if I look at the overall destination, the 4 destinations that we have, US, Canada, UK, and Australia, we're talking about almost 94,000 students in total across all destinations. Out of that, US stands about 17,000 plus. Now, that means US is placed right after UK in terms of the number of students that go, although the margin is large between UK and US, but US continues to be second destination. And this is the data as per FY24. But if I look at the current trends and the current data that has come out, it is very clear to us that US is leading ahead of Canada by a mark. So while Canada has certain challenges on account of the latest policy shifts, that is really moving in favor of the US and creating new opportunities. And we've seen more countries like Pakistan, UAE, Saudi, Nigeria, Ghana, all those key priority markets moving very fast on the US. And that's why there's so much of excitement to kind of make sure that we tap into that opportunity for us. Now, if I look at US specifically from our region, Saudi Arabia remains to be one of the largest market in terms of sheer size of volumes. But there are key countries which are growing fast enough, which is Pakistan, Turkey, and we've got from the UAE point of view, although the data does not represent the true market potential because the data represents the UAE nationals, because this is based on open doors data. If I add the expat market, that market is really quite significant as well. So I think UAE will continue to be a market to kind of look at as well. There are sponsorship opportunities in the UAE on which Amith will talk about in the later slide. And if I look at the whole piece here, Australia is currently facing challenges as well on account of caps that are being discussed in Australia. So we've seen a huge market shifts to UK and US. So these are the 2 destinations which are having a very strong momentum in the current financial year, and the trends are showing. And in the next slide, I will talk to you through about how we are seeing those trends on all of our data insights. So we are looking at destination demand. So these demands are tracking international students, current and potential students who are searching on our IDP websites. So we get about 1 million website hits per year. And out of that, clearly the line which is on the top, which is the orange line, represents the UK as a destination. Now, UK as a destination has continuously to show promising growth versus year on year. So 37% market share has moved up to 44 almost, so 7% increase in market share, while the US followed closely, moved from 30% to 30% to 32%, so 2% growth. And these are clearly much ahead than Canada, which has actually seen a decline month on month, while Australia is relatively flat. And I think that's where the huge opportunity lies, where there is a shifting trend from Canada to the US, and US continues to have strong potential. And also very important to say that, when you look at the share of international students in the US, it's about 6% versus UK and Australia, which sits about 20% plus. So there's a huge runway in terms of penetration of international student in US universities, where we see a huge potential for growth in the future. And while we talk about those key destinations, what we are seeing as an emerging and upcoming destination as well, where students are also looking to apply or showing some significant interest, is UAE as a destination as well, and Europe as a destination. So we are seeing some trends, although the numbers are shy at the moment, but this is a trend to watch out for. So we are keeping a very close watch on how this international student mobility is moving from some of our key destination to some of the emerging and new destinations as well. Moving to the next one. Now, interestingly enough, we wanted to kind of do a selection of what the sentiments and attitude of international students, prospective international student, is on impact of what how much the elections or the outcomes of the elections influence their decision to study. A vast majority are really not impacted by that, because from an international student perspective, they're looking at their own personal goals. They're looking at where they want to be in the future. And for them, who is in the White House is not as important as we would claim to be. So that's the very important data point that has come across. International students, drivers to select US as a destinations are far and beyond the election. So that is something that we are really interested to kind of see in the survey, and it's very clear 54% does not do not have any impact on who comes in office. And now we already know who's in the office, but I think that this was done pre-election period. So that's something that this was done around October. Now, moving on, I think one of the main criterias that we measure is the student perceptions, and sometimes perceptions drive behavior. So it's very important to understand from where students are thinking. And in terms of quality of education, US is the number one destination, led by, I mean, followed by UK. And again, that is really important because at the end of the day, the quality of education that a destination offers is consistent. And I think that remains fundamental at the very core of why students select US as a destination. Value for money, and again, that's a very strong, number one position there as well, because at the end of the day, these are some of the students are self-funded. So for them, value of money is a very important indicator and a demand driver as well. Graduate employment opportunities, again, are very, very strong. So these are the top three reasons, and US typically performs number one across the three main criteria. The way some work has is kind of required is on the post-study work policies. Now, I with other destinations, I guess the students are very clear about the post-study work opportunities. Whereas in case of US, they're not so much compared to Canada and Australia. But that's again shifting on account of the changes in policy, and that's something that we monitor very closely. International student policies. One thing what UK and Canada and Australia have in common is that they have a common international education strategy, and that drives a lot of international recruitment, and that drives a lot of communication as well to international students. So I think in case of the US, that's yet to be matured. So I think that's where we kind of see US falling behind and being the last destination in terms of international student policies. I now hand over to my colleague Amith, who will take over to the next section. Over to you, Amith.
Thank you very much, Rohan. Good morning to all of you. Rohan and Dharma have already introduced me, so I wouldn't do that. I'll go ahead and jump right into it. Just first, starting off with IDP UAE, or generally UAE. For IDP UAE, we have two offices, Dubai and Abu Dhabi, and from there we try to service the entire country and locations where we know there are student populations that we can cater for. So if we look at UAE as a country, it's got a very comparatively smaller population to the other markets that I'm going to highlight today. So it's close to 10 million, so 9.9 million. 88% of those the population are expats, so they're coming in from the subcontinent, South Asia, Middle East, and also parts of Africa as well. But a majority of those expats are Indians, 38.2%. And there was a survey that was conducted, I think, a couple of years back, and it was observed that 50% of the students that actually study abroad from UAE are actually Indian origin students. So they do form a good big cohort of the students that study abroad. Now, keeping that in mind, if we look at the student population, essentially they are a mix of sponsored Emiratis and self-funded expats. Um, UAE is now going into this process of Emiratization. So what's happening is um, the 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 government is encouraging the local Emiratis to start working in private sector, and as part of that process, they are actually establishing certain sponsorship programs to enable them to get that education that is required to be in private companies and take up roles that have, always been done by expats. So it's sort of just trying to balance it out in the country. Now, this um, is a great opportunity for one, the expats who are self-funded. They are looking at obviously going abroad and studying and really enhancing their profile to be able to then come back and work in different areas or go and work in different countries in that sense. And then obviously we have got the Emiratis who are now looking to upskill themselves to be able to work in the private sector in addition to the public sector. Now, in terms of the students, it is the student population is growing, and this is driving or primarily driven by the growing expat population in the country. There has been a growth of population in UAE, especially with the implementation of certain long-term stay visas, like the golden visa that they have been offering. So there's over 200 plus nationalities that came. So UAE does offer a huge mix of students that you can look at, not just students from subcontinent, but also from Africa, from South America, from Southeast Asia as well, if you look at that. Now, the students look at certain or the primary interest for students in terms of study areas are around computer science, AI, cybersecurity, machine learning, data science, education, health sciences, business, and engineering. A lot of this is driven by the government in terms of the where they're putting investments. There's a lot of investment in fintech, cryptocurrency, being entrepreneurs. They're inviting entrepreneurs to set up businesses. So a lot of students are seeing that and they're tending to go to those kind of programs in that sense. Now, UAE as a country is also the fourth largest. As the fourth largest GDP in the Middle East, it's slightly over 500 billion. They, as I already mentioned, they invest in a few sectors and they're driving, especially in artificial intelligence. They strongly believe in the fourth industrial revolution, and that's why they're really pushing on a lot of things related to or aspects related to technology. They do invite a lot of cryptocurrency entrepreneurs into the country, and that's where we have seen a growth in those kind of study areas as well when it comes to AI. Additionally, UAE as a country has been investing in aerospace, has been investing in a space program. So we have started seeing students asking a lot more about astronomy programs, aerospace programs, etc. in that sense. Now let's just going into IDP UAE. IDP UAE is one of is our oldest operation in our network. It is also our most resourced in terms of counselor capacity and experience as well. So a lot of the projects that we run, we sort of test it here in UAE, and then we scale it up to the rest of the Middle East region, Pakistan, and even Africa in that sense. So IDP UAE has really built strong stakeholder partnerships, be it with schools, be it with universities, colleges, and now something that's being worked on is also our partnership or building that strengthening the relationship with Education USA in UAE to have certain collaborative activities that can go on in this place. Um, and in that sense, it's also a market where you will see a lot more UG students as opposed to PG students. And our school network really enables us to really cater to those students as well in that sense. And now, if you look at IAP, our office here, they do have a higher application and visa success rate compared to what we would see in the market in that sense. And this is something that we monitor on a monthly basis as well. Now, with the counselors, I just wanted to highlight we have split counselors in according to destination. So we have North America specific counselors. Now they do look after US and Canada. The objective or goal in the future is to really have a separate counseling team for US. So it's really building that piece up. And at the moment for North America, we have 7 counselors in total for both the offices together. If we can move to the next slide. Great, thank you. So Rohan had given you a snippet about the market size. So I'm just going to give you a bit more looking at the market size from financial year 21 all the way up to financial year 24, which was the last one, FY24. As you will see, UK is the biggest destination in the UAE, or the most preferred destination. It was followed by Canada. Now again, now what's happening is As Rowan mentioned, at the moment, the data that we receive from the US immigration is only focused on the Emiratis. So that's why you see FY24 as 899. But to be honest, after doing a bit of interaction assessment with some institutions, with Education USA, and also looking at our numbers, it was sort of estimated that it'll be very close to the numbers that are similar to UK as well as Canada in the previous financial year. So we're looking at somewhere around that around 2000, 3000 range in that sense. So that's what we peg the US to be in actual terms for UAE as such. And as you can see from FY23 to FY24, Canada has dropped. And at the same time, if you look at the volume, even though it's Emirati, the blue line is the US, is for the US. You can notice that there's this slight growth from FY23 to FY24. But if we add the expats, we would see that growth even more, because in Canada, the decline has been really brought about by the decline with the expat students that's happened there. So, Callan, if we can move to the next slide. So on the left-hand side, what I've done is obviously looked at what are students looking for on the websites? What are they searching for? And usually they search for health and medicine. The students in UAE, they look at business, engineering, technology, sciences, computer science. But then when we actually look at the students who apply, a lot more are applying. If you look at the two pie charts on the right-hand side, you'll see that almost 28% or 28, 29%, if we look at both the financial years, they are applying for computer science and mathematical science. So a lot more than what was initially searching for. And then you have engineering, technology, and business, because and health and medicine form a very small portion. But it's interesting to see that the portion has improved in FY24. But this is because a lot of students aspire to study health and medicine and work as a doctor or dentist or etc. in allied healthcare as such. But sometimes they don't meet the entry requirements, or financially they are not able to meet that requirements. So either way, they decide to look at other study areas. But as a sort of range, or looking at a thumb rule, so computer science, engineering, technology, business, and sciences are probably your top four programs, and humanities as well, that students look at. So now I'll focus a bit more on the scholarships, the two scholarships that are available in UAE, and that has recently come up. So the first scholarship I'll talk to you about is the Rise Up, which is on the left side, or otherwise alternatively known as the Kotwa Scholarship. This is fully funded by the Abu Dhabi government. They have invested around $500 million into this program, and it is set to run till 2028. It was started 2 years back, and the idea was to really nurture local students. Again, it looks at a different class of UAE citizens. So basically, those students who had just completed school and they've not done any further education, those who may be from the middle class or lower end of the Emirati population here, and basically really upskilling them and giving them that opportunity to really go overseas and study. So these students would then either have to do an English if they do not meet the requirements, and then go into diploma, and then eventually into bachelor's. Some of them can go directly into the diploma because they meet the English language requirements, and then carry forward into the bachelor's as well. Now, for the Kotwa Scholarship, IDP is a strategic partner, and we would be supporting in terms of doing the admission process. They sort of discuss with the institutions on which programs to allocate students. They have that discussions. They do let us know. They share the list, and then we apply according to that, and also guide with the visa process as well. Now, looking at the right side, we have got something called the HBM Scholarship, which is funded by the Dubai government. It's also known as the Abdan bin Mohammed Scholarship. It has been established by the Crown Prince of Dubai. It was established this year. It's a fully funded scholarship for students, and they have invested. They are obviously, it's a continuous investment that The objective is to invest around 299, close to $300 million dollars into it. Again, we are the strategic partner for this particular scholarship as well. We, apart from supporting with the application process, visa guidance, we also help with the pre-departure briefings. We assist with running joint school council workshops through the scholarship to those schools, along with KHDA, who is the ministry that manages the education portfolio for the Dubai government inside. Now, this particular scholarship will sponsor around 100 Emirati students. And again, at this case, they're looking at those top level individuals who have scored really good academics in their schooling, and that's what they're looking at, or top talented individuals, as they mention on their website. They're focused on top 200 universities globally, and it is a direct university program that they're looking at. Obviously, there might be some case-to-case discussions. However, mostly they're looking at a direct university program in terms of sending the students. Over to the next slide. Great. So now moving on to Saudi Arabia, which is another key market that we would like to focus on. In Saudi Arabia, we have 3 offices. That's in Islam, Riyadh, Jeddah, and Dammam, right? So if we look at the population, it is around 33 million, and 58%, slightly over 50% are Saudis. So there is a good number of expats in Saudi as well. But you do see uh, a higher volume of students actually, Saudi students actually also studying abroad from this. Key point about this population, it is a very young population. So median age is around 29, and most of them are obviously set up looking at studying abroad. Now, Saudi is more of a, if you look at the student population, it's more of a PG market or a postgraduate or graduate market. They're looking at master programs or beyond or PhD, etc. It's got a mix of sponsored Saudi students and self-funded expats as well. You would see a lot more expats coming out of the MAM, where there's a lot of investment that has been put in by the oil company Aramco. And essentially, there's a lot of international schools and international establishments where a lot of these expats do work. You do get sort of good number of expats in Riyadh and Jeddah, but it's more, you'll see a lot more Saudis in those 2 cities as well coming. Because of the localization process that's happening, where a lot of the roles are just being assigned to Saudis, expats have a strong intention to study abroad because they do, especially with those parents who want their kids to be educated while they're working in Saudi. But the other piece that comes into play is Saudis also focusing on something called the Vision 2030, right? And they're building a new city by the name of Neom, which is to really grow Saudi in a different perspective and also diversify from an oil economy, right? Now, what's happening is they are bringing, because of this development or the new city development that's happening, there's a lot more roles that are coming up and jobs that are coming up, and there's a realization that expats would be required. So a lot of the expats are upskilling themselves so that they can come back and work in Saudi, where the pay or the salaries tend to be very high. Now, with IDP Saudi Arabia, the objective that we have at this point is to really build strong stakeholder partnerships. We are working very closely with Education USA in the market. Our team recently attended the Saudi US Partnership Forum, which was jointly run by Education USA and the Saudi government. Additionally, we service students across the country, and we do have 3 counselors in total, one in each city that service North America specifically. Moving on to the next slide. So yes, now looking at the market size, I think there was a question that I saw pop up. I would like to reiterate that or would like to clarify that these numbers are based on the student visa volumes or the visa approval volumes, right? So this actual student visas that have been approved by the immigration. So now if we look at the blue line, you can see that US is one of the key destinations for Saudi Arabia along with UK. you has seen a slight dip between the two financial years, FY23 and FY24, but still a substantial volume of slightly over 5,000. UK has now picked up, it's slightly over 6,000. So it's also due to number of partnerships that are, or discussions and MOUs that are happening with the government. So you'll see the drive happening as well, with a lot of the sponsor students also going to Saudi. Um, in relative terms, I think Canada and Australia are much smaller. They sit at around 1,200 range in that sense. Great. So moving on to the next slide, again, looking at the same with the preferred study areas. So first thing on the left-hand side, looked at what students really search for, and it's the same pattern. So you have health and medicine that students look for, then engineering, technology, business, sciences, computer science. And then when they actually apply, uh, um, whereas what's happening is students actually looking, applying for computer science at universities, or colleges in that sense, and then engineering and technology and business has really picked up between the two financial year. So this is something, and I think that's also based on how that country is moving in terms of their direction. There's a lot more going into business management, entrepreneurship, and also roles that are coming which are more focused on international business and management perspective as well. Great. So moving on to the next, just quickly wanted to run through the scholarships. Now this is the scholarship program is known as the Two Holy Mosques Scholarship Program, which is funded by the Ministry of Education. It's a fully funded scholarship program, again, with the same intention to support talented individuals. They do have to meet certain academic requirements to get through. Now, there are three parts in this scholarship program. It's known as the Pioneers, Provider, and Research and Development. Pioneers is mainly for people who are going for on-job training, or it's more of a short-term study training, etc. And then you have the Research and Development, which is mainly for students who are looking at research. The one we are more focused on is the MDAD, or the provider, which is more focused on higher education. So you're talking about your bachelor's and master's program. So MDAD focuses on that. And this is where what we have discussions with ministries, and that's what as colleges and universities you should be looking at as well. At the moment, the MDAD scholarship is active. Um and it is active, and what happens is, so basically they are putting it in line because of the NEOM development that's happening. However, there is an hold on release of financial guarantees because they are currently sort of reviewing their university list and the program list. So this is what's happening. Again, this is the information that we have received as such. Okay. So on the right side, you will see the study areas that have been provided by, again, this is a general list that has been provided by the ministry. If you look at their website and the institution listing, you will see very focused programs that are provided. They have actually said that for this university, this program, this college, this program as such in that sense. So moving on to the next. Great. So now jumping over to Pakistan. Now with Pakistan, as Rohan mentioned, we started off in 2019 with 3 offices, that is Islamabad, Lahore, and Karachi, and we have then expanded into 9 offices, with Lahore having a second office, Karachi having a second office, and then obviously having offices in Faisalabad, Gujarat, etc. It is got sizable population at 240 million. Again, a young population, much younger than the population that we spoke about in Saudi Arabia. The median age is around 23. A lot of students intend on going to study abroad. It is also one of the largest English-speaking student population countries as well. So, and a lot of this has been set up because of the international school system, which has grown by 100% in the last decade. So this is really strong, and school. This is where we also try to work with school counselors. If there's, we do tend to support in terms of any visits, and visits to both schools and institutions, colleges, universities, and this sort of helps with really showcasing US as a destination as well. Now, the students are more focused on affordability, ranking, and post-study work opportunities. Again, this also depends on the cities. Now, if you look at Karachi, Karachi is where it's a bit more wealthier in terms of there's the spread of people, the spread of industries in that city. So they do tend to look at the ranking of the institutions. Whereas if you go to Islamabad and Lahore, it's a bit of a mix. And or Gujarat and Faisalabad, because students look at affordability. Some of them might look at ranking. A lot of them look at post-study work opportunities as well. The students are mostly self-funded, family sponsors. They do tend to look at education loans, and they look at scholarships coming in when they apply to institutions as well. Now, with Pakistan as a country, it's an agriculture-based economy. That's where a lot of it is driven. So you might also see where students are showcasing finances using agriculture businesses as well that they have. Then textile is export drivers, so that's a big piece, and a lot of that you would see in Karachi as well. I think something that has affected the country in a while is been the country devaluation, but this is also an opportunity where a lot of the students are then trying to see if they can go and study abroad, or parents are trying to send them before, you know, because of the current situation, or because they don't want the value to or go down again in that sense. IDP Pakistan. So if you notice, when I spoke about all three markets, one of the things that we are doing across these three markets is to really build strong relationships with stakeholders, be it institutions like schools and colleges and universities, but also we are on ground. We are working with Education USA, and I'm so happy to, or proud to say that just at the start of December, we actually had Education USA run a training session for our counselors, a dedicated session just to going through a few aspects, especially around the visa process, interview process, and a few points on the financial aid, scholarships, etc. As such. With counselors, we have 13 counselors in total across the country, and they focus on North America specifically. Moving on. Okay, so now looking at Pakistan's market size. Pakistan, yes, UK is their biggest market at over 33,000. Um, Something to note is that in FY24, you can see, if you look at the red line, that Australia is at 4,392, and US, the blue line, is at 4,024. But with the current YTD for FY25, as we look at it, Australia is actually halved. So it is declining in Pakistan, whereas US has sort of started growing, and it's become the second most preferred destination in Pakistan at the moment. So a lot of opportunity in Pakistan that we are going to see in the next few years as it comes. Moving on to the next slide. Similarly, when we look at the left side, based on search trends, the same pattern. A lot of students looking to apply, looking for health and medicine because they want to aspire for that. Pakistan does have a affinity towards doctors. If you look at the population generally, or parents, communities as such, then obviously business, because of say cities like Karachi, even Lahore, where there's a lot of businesses that are being set up. There's a growing number of entrepreneurs in the country as well. Then they look at sciences, engineering, technology, computer science, etc. But if we look at the actual applications on the right side across the two financial years, you see it's computer science, mathematical science, business, which is key, and then you've got engineering, technology, and something that you'll notice is law as well. So in Pakistan, law is a preferred program. Actually, a lot of students apply for law in UK, so that's where there's a good number of students that do that as well. So moving on to the next. So I quickly, one of the things Rohan gave you a general sort of outlook on the US pre-election survey, because we had a sizable volume from Pakistan. We were able to extract that information and wanted to share that with you. So as you can see, it was a 10-minute survey that was shared, and it was conducted between August to September 2024. If you can move to the next slide. There were 60 students that actually responded to the survey, and 97% of the 60 students preferred US as their priority destination, right? So they would look at, they scored it very high. So yeah, that's a very positive response. So I just wanted to share that. If we move to the next slide. Now, Rowan mentioned some of these factors, but just want to reiterate it. So if you look at the grand total or the overview that Rowan talked about, what are some of the parameters that students look at when they sort of perceive or rank their preferred destination? This on the right side, you can see that the parameters specific to Pakistan. So it's the quality of education, availability of scholarships, and financial aid. And third is opportunities for research and innovation. So those are the three main reasons why Pakistan students um, preferred US, and that really moved the needle towards US as a preferred destination in that sense. So moving on, so what are the most attractive, most attractive aspects? So one was the quality of education, opportunities for internship and practical experience. Obviously, the least attractive, if we look at that, 44%, like mentioned, the flexibility in the curriculum or major selection, the pathways to being able to stay in the US for long term, and also diversity of the student population. That's it. Moving on. So 61% of the Pakistani students mentioned that the election outcome will not influence, sort of, will not influence their decision to study in the US. So this clearly shows if they are intending to study abroad, if they are intending to study in US, that's not, this 61% said it's not going to change at all, which is actually very positive, and it's good to see that as well. Great. So now just going through the final few slides, just wanted to highlight a bit of market engagement strategy. So one of the pieces that I wanted to highlight is I've spoken about some key markets, and I believe that it would be beneficial if, as institutions, you can focus on key markets in the region rather than sort of spreading yourself thin by trying to do it regionally. So identify priority markets for yourselves like UAE, Saudi, Pakistan. Some of you may look at Turkey, Egypt, etc. It would be great to have focus training with certain offices rather than doing a regional training, because when we do focus training, it's easy for me to just get the office to sort of set it into their calendar. They can coordinate with you on the timing, and then obviously whenever possible, if you're traveling to the region, please visit those key markets as well. So going to the next point, I wanted to uh, highlight the expo. I'm not going to talk about it in detail here because I have a few slides on that. But again, don't have to do the entire, I mean, if you would like to test all the waters, great, but otherwise, let's focus on the priority markets, see how it goes, really build a pipeline, and then take it forward and scale it up to the other countries, right? The ME Expo has been built into place. We do it twice a year to really generate leads for institutions and also build your brand in the region. Now, talking about other activities, so it doesn't stop with that, right? So, post Expo, we work on certain conversion activities with specific offices. You get invitations to be part of it. It could be physical, it could be hybrid, depending on when we do it. There's opportunities to do information sessions or webinars. For example, we do general webinars like how to apply or what is a good US application, right? So, something like that. So, or what are community colleges, so certain sessions like that can really help, and it draws a diverse crowd towards the to attend this. Now, with the institution visits and academic master classes, I just wanted to highlight, if you're traveling or if you have any academics coming in for conference or traveling across the region, please let me know. Please let the officers know. We would be able to set up school visits or college or university visits. We could also coordinate and see if there's a possibility to do a master class with the academic in one of those institutions as well. Now, there are certain strategic initiatives that we work on a yearly basis or annual basis. For one is the school leaders workshop. So the school counselors or principals don't get a lot of professional development that happens while the schools. So we run this sort of like a CSR program that we have, where we actually run a professional development workshop for these school counselors. And essentially, we do invite institutions to be able, if they have an academic on ground, or if they want to send someone to be part of this workshop or deliver on a professional deliver the professional development workshop, there's that possibility. So please feel free to reach out if you're interested. um, we're also working on some initiatives with Education USA, and we would reach out along with Education USA if there's any activities that we can work on jointly. Finally, in terms of collaboration with the scholarship programs, while we work very closely with some of the ministries or local bodies, we will be able to guide you on how to go about with interactions with them. We may not usually be able to influence decisions on the ministry side. We are usually just help, supporting them with a lot of the processes. However, we can guide you and give you directions on how to go about it as well. Now, the there are a number of government commercial events that happen on ground, and we have seen some of the institutions that participate, and we do get invitations to participate as a proxy, or send one of our counselors to support them at the event. So for example, at Najaf Fair or in Oman, for JetX, we do send in our counselors to support, but please do let us know in advance so that we can actually cater to manage our staffing in the office as well. So if you require on ground support in that sense, we can provide it. Similarly, if there is cases where you need some support with queries, for example, we had a project we worked with one of the US institutions where they had a large number of queries that were coming in, but they couldn't really manage it. So they reached out to us. We would then transfer those queries to our call center, who would then connect with the students, and if they meet the need requirements, or they are filtered, and then we would set them up for an appointment with the counselors and provide this feedback to the institution. So we can support in those ways as well. So please feel free to reach out if that's something you would be looking at. Moving on to the next slide. So quickly, just running through the last expo that we ran in September, October 2024. You'll notice that in September, October 2024, we had slightly lower registrations and also attendees, but this was an intentional thing, because as each year goes, we are trying to really filter the kind of registrations that come through. We are focusing more on the quality across the region, and it's quite heartening to say that we had more in terms of those students who are genuinely going to apply to study abroad. We had increase of 4% in terms of volume. So that's a good piece, and this is something that we'll continue to work on as such. So if you look at the top countries in terms of attendees, Saudi Arabia with over 3,000 students who attended the event, UAE with over 2,500, Pakistan slightly over 1,300, Turkey at 529, and Oman 412. So this were the top countries in terms of attendance in the region in the last expo. So just going to highlight on two of them, UAE and Saudi Arabia. Just wanted to show. So for example, UAE, if you look at the students who registered and look at the preferred study destination, you'll notice that US, which is in orange, is at 19%. US used to be the fourth most preferred among our registrants, but now, or in the last expo, we have seen it's picked up to being second, right? It's actually it overtook both Canada and Australia as well. So this is good news for US. There's a lot more students who are looking at US as an study destination. And on the right side, you look at the preferred level of study in UAE. As I mentioned before, it's predominantly slightly more in terms of undergraduate market, and you can see 54% of the registrants were looking at undergraduate and 29% postgrad, because postgrad market is a bit scattered out here. Some of them are in uni, or some of them are working, etc. So moving on to the next one. Now let's look at Saudi. Again, similar piece with Saudi Arabia. As you can see that USA has moved up to being the second most preferred at 27, if you look at the orange part of the pie chart. And then if you look at on the right side, preferred level of study, it's a bit different from UAE, where you do see that there is obviously 34% of those registrants were looking at undergrad. But if you combine the the postgrad, and obviously if you combine the doctoral you would see that it's around 37% who are looking at postgraduate students as well. So slightly more in terms of postgraduate. So yes, I just wanted to highlight this. I wouldn't dwell too much into it, but just wanted to highlight there's a lot of work that goes behind for the expo, and this is why I meant expo is a great tool for you as institutions to be part of in the region, because as I mentioned, apart from generating leads, we work on building and supporting institutions brand and building it in the region. So we do a lot of on ground work where there's campaigns going on among our partner institutions, schools, universities. We have councils going and presenting there, talking about some of the institutions that are participating. We run some competitions as well. Then on social media, we do a lot of ads. We have influencers who who promote the event. In addition, they do attend our events on the day and promote it live, and we do get students coming in because of that. Um, we also request institutions to provide videos which we showcase on the social media posts across different channels, so Instagram, Twitter, um, um, Facebook, and even LinkedIn as well for certain markets like Saudi Arabia. We use other channels as well, emailers, SMS campaigns, and print ads as well to work. And then obviously, as I mentioned, we do those physical visits to schools. We reach out to ministries. We actually also check if they can support in promoting it as well across in certain cases. In some of the markets, we do sometimes work with PR agency, but it's not a common thing as such, because we are capable enough for driving a lot of what we do on ground in that sense. So moving on to the next, just wanted to highlight the dates of the upcoming Spring 25. That's in between 24 January to 16 February. I've put in the key dates here, key market dates, and the pricing for that. And I would like to tell you the tentative dates of the Fall 25 will be released soon, but it is between 11 September to 5th October across the Middle East and Africa region. Um, we are finalizing, and hopefully we will be able to send the new dates in January for fall. Great. Just quickly summarizing what we are going to talk. Obviously, the US leads in perception. For most students, they are seeing US as their uh, focus destination. A lot of the students who have been applying to Canada are now looking at US as a destination, so that's really positive. One thing I would highlight is students have started applying for more destinations than ever before, so it makes it imperative that there's a lot more on-ground engagement, because some of the markets are very face-to-face. For example, if you look at Turkey, Ankara is very face-to-face. Istanbul, not so much, but they do like to come in for expos and meet institutions. But you have markets like UAE, Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, very face-to-face in that sense. I'm going to reiterate on the message. Please focus on key markets. Let's work on the key markets and then scale it up to the um, other parts of this region. I also wanted to highlight in terms of training sessions, there's certain feedback provided by the counselors and office managers or officers in general. It would be great to highlight key study areas where you have seen a lot of students come in, and where students have been successful in, say, for example, post-study opportunities after studying at your institution, any in-demand skills that you want to highlight, scholarships, and also councils do find certain difficulty navigating some of the websites, especially when it comes to finding tuition fees. It's not very clear. So it would be great to really showcase that when you do the training session, so that it's much easier for them to sort of go through the website as well. Um, as I mentioned before, if you require any on-ground support, please let us know, let me know, and we'll be able to coordinate on that piece as well. Moving on, thank you very much. And if we can move to the last slide, our details are provided here of all the presenters. And if you need to contact the IDP partnerships team, that's as well. And Dharma is there as well.
Thank you so much, Amith. I know we had a lot of information, really interesting information to cover in this webinar, and we are at time, but we had a handful of questions come in, Amith, that I'm going to put to you and Rohan. One is that, do you know what the gender balance of undergraduate Emiratis going to the US is? And the same question for the Saudi gender balance also, if not exactly, but anecdotally, what is your experience in terms of that gender balance for the undergraduate students who are going to the US from these two countries?
Rohan, do you want to?
No, go ahead. I'll join.
Yeah. So we don't have the exact piece as such because we didn't look at it, but it would be, I wouldn't say it would be a exact balance, but there would be a slight inclination towards male and then female. But it is getting to that balance point as we're getting, because there's a lot of investment going in, and a lot of intention in sending female students to study abroad, and giving them that opportunity as well. But please understand, with this scholarship, even though the government or ministry provides a scholarship to the student or the student's family, the family is actively involved with the decision making. So we have had cases where the student has received the scholarship, has applied, um, got the offer letter, and then the family says, no, we want the student to stay back. And we have seen that sometimes with the case of female students as well, in that sense. So just wanted to, Rohan, would you like to add something to that?
Yeah, I'll echo what Amit is mentioning, but I think what we have seen is it's always in the favor, the balance is always in front of males as well, because I think it's been in the previous years used to be a highly male dominated scholarship. Trends are changing, but I would say 60-40, 60% being male, 40% being females. That is something that we are seeing as women are increasingly taking leadership position, especially in fast developing economies such as UAE. Some of the recent hiring in the ministries where women, that's perspective, and even in a country like Saudi Arabia where women are not allowed to drive, things are changing rapidly. So I think that's from that perspective we are seeing. But at the moment, we still have prominence, dominance for males, but that's changing very rapidly.
Yeah. Just wanted to add, Rohan and I have traveled in the last few years to Saudi, and Rohan will also um, agree that, we have seen a lot of changes in it. So when we go to the immigration, there's female immigration officers. If you go, like he mentioned in UAE, similar to that in Saudi, a lot of the leadership positions, ministry positions are now female leaders there. So things are changing, and I know at some point there'll be a balance, but it might take a few more years to get to that in terms of population breakdown.
Well, thank you both so much. Those are the main questions that we had. And I know in the chat, Rohan did answer Mark's question. So since we are at time, we will end this. So both Rohan and Amith, thank you so much for staying up late and presenting on your time today. And to all of our participants, thank you so much for joining in. And as I mentioned, you will get a link to the recording, as well as we'll send you the updated slide deck from today also. And if you have any follow-up questions, please send them to us. We'll be happy to answer them. So thank you again, everybody. We really appreciate your time and presence today.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.